I'd like to thank Samir for inviting me to come and talk today about a subject that's very, very dear to my heart. As a curator, I did not witness the destruction and looting of objects, but I could only imagine how the people in Iraq must have felt, the staff members, the director at the time, and the people of Iraq. I have heartfelt sympathy for the people of Iraq, having gone through this. Today on the St. Thomas campus in Minnesota, as Samir mentioned, Dr. Donnie George is giving a lecture. Last night he gave a lecture on the looting of the Iraq National Museum. Today he's giving a lecture on the treasures of Nimrud, of which the National Museum owns and has in their galleries. Also today, the Cultural Heritage and Preservation Studies, also known as CHAPS, at Rutgers University will be holding an all-day conference. And this conference will focus on the current state of cultural heritage studies and practice, bringing together academics, museums, funding agencies, and nonprofit organizations for discussions and the future of this topic. It's wonderful that we're having all of these conferences on the same day. I think it lends great support. Okay. You've seen this picture a few times today, I think. The front of the building is actually the Children's Museum portion of it, and the National Museum is behind it. And so the hole that you see sometimes in the pictures actually went into the Children's Museum portion of it. I love this picture. It reflects the contemplation and the peacefulness that this art can bring to people, not only the Iraqi people, but people worldwide. I'm sure we've been in museums where we have found a piece or maybe a couple of pieces that truly spoke to our hearts. And we stayed in that room, we looked at it, we examined it, we felt it. We hear that these antiquities are so important to the world. Why? Why is it so important? Why are we so engaged in this? Why do we feel that we have to have these conferences? How many of us who are Americans, how many of us would feel that outrage if our Declaration of Independence had been stolen or destroyed? Would we have that same concern? What does it even mean to have a cultural heritage? For me, my heritage is a mixture of different states and countries: Oregon, Missouri, Iowa, West Virginia, and Scotland, Ireland, France, Germany. You know, which one of these is my heritage? I would have to study a long time to find what my heritage means to me. This is so different for the Iraqi people and the people who live in the ancient Mesopotamian area. They know their roots. This is a Mesopotamia timeline, and I'm sorry, being an art historian, I use this a lot. So as you can see, there was a pre-Sumerian, Paleolithic time also, but I didn't put this on. I think the other speaker touched upon this. But as you see, it's gone through a long period of history, longer than the United States, certainly. And the people, the Iraqi people who come from this area, they are a part of this. It's not like they move around from country to country or to state to state. This is their home. This is what they've been raised with. These are their artifacts. These are their family's artifacts. This is their heart and their soul. The U.S. invasion came on April 8th. And I can only imagine what went through the hearts of the people there. The orders from the U.S. military and from the British military headquarters and also from the Italian military were not to protect the artifacts. That was not their directive. It was to provide security for the Iraqi people. And I know it's been mentioned that while the statue of Hussein was being torn down, the looters were in the museum, looting the museum, taking these precious artifacts. And yet, we really need to be fair and notice that those weren't our directives. The U.S. military was trying to provide water, electricity, and survival for the people in Baghdad. And it was only later, on April 16th, when Matthew Bogdanos came in with his team of investigators that everything started to move, started to roll. Okay. Originally, there was a higher number of artifacts that were thought that had been stolen, 170,000. That proved to be way too high. The actual number was around 15,000. I think this picture says it all. You've seen it before today, but I think it says it all for the museum staff. He was he was so sad. I understand that. And this is another picture of the aftermath of the looting. Oops, sorry. You can see the pillars taken down, everything smashed. And the head had been smashed, lays in the rubble. This is the archive room, and you've seen this picture also. But look how completely it's taken over. There's nothing left. There was nothing left. And as Dr. Donnie George said, it was like a hurricane was inside of the museum. It was just destroyed, totally destroyed.